Welcome back to the next big pod. Small panel at the minute. Just not press pass. He's coming on later. We've got Andy Pops, who's making a reappearance, and Ainsley is back again. We got a bit to review and quite a lot to preview. Some decent and some shit, and a lot in between. Off with a Russian card that was on Sky, or the two fights that was on Sky. Ainsley, you watched the whole card, or most of it, didn't you, on a stream? Do you want to take us away with your thoughts? Start off with Lebedev Gassiev.
That was a good fight. Very good fight. But not the routine defence certain people will say it is, and then I'm going back Gassiev and then try and claim to be like some real brave picker of fights, mentioning no names.
Shep the Brave.
But yeah, not a bad fight. I think I've been picking...
What did you think of Gassiev? Because I wasn't overly impressed. He seems to have fallen in love with his power and not utilising any basic skill. He was blocking punches with his face and just walking forward, throwing crude shots.
He's a work in progress, but he didn't have many amateur fights. He only had about 30 amateur fights, I think.
He's only 23, isn't he? And
he's only a pup.
And he's been in there and fucking in bet Lebedev, so I don't think you can be too harsh on him, but I get what you're saying. He was kind of, when he says static, but he did fucking basically stop trying to move his head and get out the way he shots. He just fucking stood in the centre of the ring and just tried to fucking kind of throw bombs at fucking certain points of the fight. It was a good fight, but I thought Lebedev would actually have won. I thought Lebedev would have maybe have stopped him late.
But it's... He is a bit like that. I think he's getting slightly better. I don't know if you can train all of that out of him. I don't know, but it's still like his power's obviously pretty well above average, and his chin's obviously fairly legit because he was taking a fair few off of Lebedev. But
yeah, he's got a good beard. I was going to say that if he took that many clean shots off Lebedev and didn't flinch, he's definitely got a beard on him. That's for sure.
Yeah, he's good. It is interesting, Gassiev. I'm not sure where he's going to fit. There's a lot of good guys. I don't know. I think if you're not quite, if there's something not there right about you, I don't think you're going to beat him. I think he'll find the quit in you, and he'll find it pretty quickly. So no, he'd wreck Bellew, I reckon.
I was going to get onto that later on, but I think Gassiev's main flaw for me from the weekend was his lack of footwork. Lebedev was just circling the ring, and there was no attempt to cut off the ring from him at all. No. He was letting Lebedev outboxed him, really, in my opinion.
Yeah, but Lebedev's not just a fucking...
I know. I was going to say Lebedev he's wrongly sort of chucked into the bracket of a huck when he's a lot more skilled than that. He's got, to quote Spencer Fear, and nuances to his game.
Yeah.
What press pass? Did you see it?
Yeah, I thought it was a decent fight. I thought Gassiev wasn't as good as I thought he was going to be. I thought he may have put on a bit of a better performance than that, but I think it's far too easy to disrespect Lebedev, really. And like you say, most people think of just as a crude banger, but not so much that. It's the fact that he can get marked up and he can get visibly hurt in fights. I think a lot of people expected Gassiev to really do a bit of a number on him, despite the fact that he hadn't really up to this point been in with any real major names or anything of any substantial on his record. But I think a lot of it was down to obviously his hype from before he turned pro and the way he's dealt with a lot of his opponents early. But it's still a decent one to have, a decent win for him to have on the record. But I agree. I know it's going to talk to the Bellew discussion, but in that division there are so many good matchups and so many good fights. I'm not sure people want to see this one again. They might want to. I don't know if there's a rematch option on there, but I think it was just a decent scrap.
I don't think Lebedev will be gone for the rematch clause, will he? Because, see, when was it Wednesday or something like that? They fucking all of a sudden pulled the WBE belt out. When I seen that just struck me suspicious. I don't understand that.
I think he was probably just trying to save money or save the sanctioning fee. If he doesn't have to pay it, I mean, same for the promoters as well, because the WBA, even though it wasn't, it's not the full title, is it, the WBA? Is it the regular one?
No.
Is it the full one?
It's
the full title, yeah.
If it's because I mean that's a 3% fee. So if it's a 3% fee of a fairly decent purse, if he doesn't have to put it on the line, which I don't think Gassiev was. Obviously,
he was just Mando for the IBF, but I don't know. It's,
so
when I seen
it's bullshit.
that,
It
maybe
should be
me
stripped.
just
It
me
should
being
be stripped.
cynical. But it's when I seen that, I don't know. It just struck me as kind of a weird and as if he wasn't confident or something like that.
Well,
I don't know, but
I
what you're
that.
saying, it makes sense. I suppose it could be that, but from my cynical point of view, that's what I was thinking.
If there is a rematch, it gives him bargaining power because he can automatically claim as a unification 50-50.
Yeah, but I think like if it's fine not defending it, but then if you lose, you should be stripped. He's lost at that weight, so why is he keeping a belt? It's bullshit.
Yeah, I can see where you're coming from, but
that's
at the same time,
that'd be fine. There's no reason, no justification at all for him keeping that belt. It's fucking nonsense. It's just like the WBA again managing to make a fucking arse out of a situation, and it's another reason. There's got to be something done in the next 12 months to fucking. They need to stop being recognised as like a genuine sanctioning body because it's just ridiculous.
The problem is,
well, here at the next big pod, Ainsley, we don't recognise any of them. The only title that counts is the Dream Boy.
Exactly.
it's not that there's anything wrong with him not defending the title on that particular fight. I don't really have a big issue with that. It's just the WBA's inconsistency. That's all it is. It's just the rules. There doesn't seem to be a standard set, whereas some sanctioning bodies seem to be overly anal with the rules, and to the point where we sit there wondering what on earth they're doing. The WBA, it's just one rule for one fight, one rule for another, and that's the big problem with it. I don't think Lebedev didn't. I don't think he didn't have it on the line because he thought he was going to lose the fight. I just think he was just probably hedging his bets or doing what his promoter had told him to do. And I think in terms of what you said about the rematch, Lebedev does seem the kind of fighter that doesn't really avoid or duck anybody. It's hard to know what he wants to do with his career at this stage, but if he goes into it and thinks he's going to win the rematch, then he'll probably take it.
Well, with Ryabinski money, he can literally do what he wants. He can bring anyone over he wants, other than Bellier, because he's a maggot, as you would say. But if they want that rematch, they'll get that rematch because Gassiev's not going to get that money anywhere else.
But the WBA thing is going to get interesting because Shumanov's fighting Dorticos, and the winner of that is mandatory, even though they'll hold the regular belt, the mandatory for Lebedev. So I don't know what options he's got of delaying fighting that winner. Because basically, it was the winner of this fight had to fight the winner of that fight. But then because fucking Lebedev's fucked about, it's now that Lebedev had to fight the winner of that fight. So if he then decides he doesn't want to and he wants to fight Gassiev in a rematch, he's definitely got to get stripped then.
Got to strip him, you say?
Yeah, got to strip him.
What for?
Well, they can't let him lose a fight, keep the belt, and then say, yeah, you're not fighting your mandatory. They can't.
But it'd be unification, so again, he might have done it to Jew his way out of a...
It's tough shit. He was told before this fight he had to fight his mandatory. He can't just keep fucking about. This is what I mean. They can't just continually keep making the rules up as they go along. Like
when did Lebedev last fight a mandatory? Because it depends. Again, it depends because obviously you can sidestep what would have been a unification, and I suppose it's within 12 months, isn't it, with the WBA, unless you've had special exemption. I'm just trying to think when he last actually.
Well, this time last year he fought Latif Coyote, did he not? On that massive Russian card.
That wasn't a mandatory. His last one would have been Kalenga, who had the interim belt, and that was in April last year. So it's
then since then he's fought Ramirez.
Months. But Coyote weren't a mandatory. Ramirez was a fucking unification, but that's still at the point where he should have already had a mandatory. And then Gassiev, so that mandatory is well overdue.
That's right. So unification and the voluntary would have been allowed, unification, and then that sort of gives you a special exemption. Then he's obviously due. He's due a mandatory next, isn't he? He should have had it now, really.
Come to think of it, then, other than what do you call him, Usyk versus Glowacki, has there been a cruiserweight mandatory fight this year?
Well, Ramirez for the RBF was because I think he got stripped, but he would have been the mandatory.
That last year? That was last year.
Yeah, no, but I'm just working through it. But then obviously with his and Gassiev was a mandatory.
Oh yeah, of course it was.
So you've got that was it. Breedis is obviously mandatory. I'm sure there's another one stacked up for the WBC now. You know,
Drozd it was supposed to be, wasn't it?
No, but Drozd was champion in recess. It's a bit different. It's because he retired and then came back.
Anyway, it's all, they've kind of like marred a good fight by more bullshit again, which just boxing in general, isn't it? You get something good and then they just take a massive dump on it at the same time.
That's what
Chewy,
I mean.
did you watch Gassiev Lebedev, mate?
No.
No? Cheers. Right, moving on then. We'll move down the card where everyone's favourite African, Inongo, smashing Troianovski with the first punch he threw. I didn't expect that at all from that. I just thought that was going to be a routine, brought an African over to lose, but you bring an African to Russia, they tend to go in with the victory, don't they?
Like Duradola, the
What did you all make of that? What did you all make of that one bang?
I hope he passes his drug test and it's not spiked.
He's failed for Mbongo.
What the fuck was Troianovski doing when he got chinned? He had like both feet off the floor, his eyes closed, and he just poured his hand out.
Ndongo threw that punch on like last week as well.
I read an article, it was either the day or yesterday, and Troianovski says, I didn't see that punch coming. He's standing fucking square-footed with his fucking chin in the air and his hands basically right at his side. He couldn't have been any more open to a punch like that if he tried. Crazy.
Do you know what I do think, though? The way that punch was thrown, he winged it back so far, I can see how he didn't see it come in because it's like behind the African's body.
He was proper fucked as well from that Troianovski, wasn't he?
He
laid out.
He looked like he was lying on a lilo. He looked ridiculous. He absolutely leveled him out.
But see, that's what I like about the Russian cards, right? Because there's always kind of even fights. There's always good quality fights, and there's always 2 or 3 kind of upsets as well. Because
Pops, I was going to ask you though, do you think that's by design, or do you think that's their own failings in matchmaking, where they're not as astute as Hearn is at getting people who are going to come with no effort at all?
I wouldn't say it's by design. I don't know, but you would put it down to, because I mean, like Shakayev, for instance, was he like a gold medalist at the Olympics, or was he a silver?
Yeah, gold medal heavyweight.
And I mean, he's been destroyed these last 2 fights, and it's like these guys are guys with pedigree and they're good quality fighters, and they're just getting absolutely destroyed. So I don't know, for us as fans, it's brilliant because it's good. It makes good watching, but if you're promoting them and you're in their shoes, you just don't know what's going to happen. What was the first fight I seen was Kudryashov. I can't remember the guy's name. He knocked the guy down in like 20 seconds as well, and then absolutely fucking decapitated him as well.
Yeah, he knocked him down with a left hook and then absolutely flattened him with a left hook, didn't he?
That's right. And Kudryashov won the last show. He get destroyed as well, didn't he?
Duradola.
So, there you go.
Gold.
So. And it's just it's value for, well, it's not really value for money, because we kind of get them. They're always late added on, either for their own Box Nation or on Sky. They're kind of always last minute kind of add-ons, aren't they? But I enjoy them anytime they come up. I make a point to sit and watch them, because 9 times out of 10 you're guaranteed action, and it's better than what we get on a Saturday night here.
I'd really like to go to one of them cards because they look absolutely fucking mental.
The thing
like
is,
the lights and stuff. Sound like press pass now, but the lights and the setup, it just looks quality. I'd like to go and experience one.
See, I told you, you'll start to appreciate the light. I bet they have some nice tables over there as well.
Hopefully.
But the thing is, those Russian cards, it's the unexpected. It's the fact that it's almost as if the cards aren't that carefully put together. It's not like they look at fights sometimes and go, oh, that's a bit risky, or I'm not sure about that, or that's a bit expensive. It's just a case of, right, we'll throw that on, put that on. And you occasionally get, some blowouts like you do on any show. But you get some really interesting matchups. But then I think it does help that a lot of the Russian fighters don't seem overly funny about who they're fighting. Like I said, people like Lebedev and others that you're fighting him now. Okay, great. How much you're paying? Good. There doesn't seem to be this, maybe because we can't understand them and we don't read them, what they say in their versions of Sky Sports News. They might all be a load of duckers as well, but it certainly doesn't seem to be the case.
Press pass, they're very well looked after by Ryabinski, though, aren't they? They're not on peanuts. None of them.
Exactly. So they're getting well paid for what they're doing, and they just, like I said, they're in divisions where obviously they are the power players, so they can afford to get this. The money in the cruiserweight division, for example, is obviously all in Eastern Europe, or in Britain and Eastern Europe. So they control the power. If there's anyone semi-decent from the States or South America, they can afford to bring them over. And like I said, they do seem to get upsets, and then they put the guys back on. Kudryashov and Shakayev, who have been beaten and knocked out before, getting fights again. It's not just like a case of, well, you've lost, we'll see you later sort of thing. So They're always good. They're enjoyable cards. I think to go to one, they seem to last for about 9 hours, for about 3 hours of boxing. But I think it'd be an experience.
Quick question for you all. What do you think the future holds for the Russian hype job, Kudryashov? Do you think he manages to win a world title, or do you think he gets exposed when he steps up again?
Well, that fight was for the WBC silver, so he'll be probably, I would imagine, when Bellew fights WBC make Bradis and somebody else for it, and he'll probably in the mix, you know what I mean? If they're going to make Bradis fight somebody, he'll be the next available rank contender. Bradis would fucking wreck him without 2 or 3 rounds easy, I would think.
It depends though, because like
he
could easily bomb him out. It's gonna be fucking balls to the wall with him, innit? It's one way or the other.
I mean, obviously he does carry fucking huge power, but he's susceptible. His chin's obviously not the best, and he does seem to fucking. It's quite similar to Shafikov. He seems to gas as well. So you don't know. Him versus Bradis would be a good fight, but I'd back fucking Bradis. I'm quite high on Bradis.
I fucking love cruiserweights. It's such a great division, isn't it?
Copy. Troyanovsky's lost. Where does that rank in terms of like the year? Is that the biggest upset of the year?
What else have we had?
I don't know. Triple G.
Dave Allen's not knocked Ortiz out yet.
Yeah. But the way Sky marketed Brooks Triple G beating Brooks was the biggest upset of the year.
Biggest upset of the year. Yeah, I would say that's right up there. There's not been many upsets this year, is there, that I can think of off the top of my head?
There's been a few in Japan, isn't there? I can't think.
Barrios chinning. Did you chin think?
What about Corrales smashing Uchiyama in a few rounds?
Oh yeah, that might be.
Yeah.
But this is like a relatively unknown Inongo. I've never heard of that come before, and he comes in and smashes a champion. Fair enough, an old champion who's probably the worst of the lot anyway. But to smash him in a round off the first punch, yeah, that's probably going to be upset of the year for me. That
Indongo's definitely getting brought over here for Burns to roll.
Yeah, I was going to say, there's going to be promoters worldwide scrabbling for
this Indongo. He's 33, right? And he's had 21 fights with 11 KOs. I don't think I can recall seeing him before.
There was a name on his box rec I recognised, but I can't remember why I recognise it or who it was.
I don't really recall seeing him. It seems to me like all his fights have been like in Namibia or something like that. So
yeah, I'm not familiar with the Namibian scene.
Well, I'm quite.
We'll get Rocco on for that because he's a big believer in Namibian amateurs.
So. I wonder what Namibia's version of the prison canteen is.
That's what I was just going to say. I mean, if you want to get at it,
I found it. It's the Windhoek Country Club Resort.
Oh,
there you go.
All but 2 of his fights, or 3 of his fights, have been there. His other fights have been at the Ramatex factory, the Olafuko Centre, and the Kalahari Sands Hotel.
That sounds nice.
Hold on, here's one. The Kuzibond Community Hall, Welvis Bay.
Nice.
That's in Madison Square Garden in Namibia.
That is right up where the MGM Grand, that.
Oh, yeah.
Right, did any of you see Commey Shafikov from the weekend? I watched a bit of it. I was eating a curry at the time, and the stream died and I never followed it up. Did any of you catch any of that?
Shep scored those rounds, though.
Of course he did. Shep actually predicted that Shafikov would win a split decision.
Yeah,
he predicted each card spot on as well.
He did. It was a good fight. It's a shame for Commey. He's never going to win a world title, and he's never going to get that level because he's just not quite good enough, and he's taken 2 very difficult fights on the road. However, for him, every fight will be on the road because no one's going to Ghana, are they? So it's just part of it. I thought the scoring, again, it's hard to say, but from what people that were there ringside, I saw a couple of the journalists, that guy who I'll never ever try and pronounce his name. I just call him that Russian journalist.
Adelaide Bird turned in another shit card didn't she? Yeah. She was the only one who scored it in favour of Commey by like 4 rounds or something.
Do you know, watching that fight, Carb, I was the same as you. I think it was like the 8th round that the stream went down, whenever it was. Up until then, I struggled to give Commey like 1 round to me. I know he hasn't had loads of hard fights, but that's 2 fights in a row now where he's had very tough fights. And
You still there? What's going on here then?
Commey's
sake.
team have silenced Dewey.
Bring Cartwright's ran round and fucking said about Dewey for putting a dodgy article out about him.
He's gone on the fishing trip.
Bring Cartwright.
What's going on?
I'll have you for fucking breakfast.
We're still going. Dewey's just died. Go on.
All right, same.
I am not.
More interesting than the fight was the actual. What would you call it? There was like a trapeze girl or something before the fight in the ring. Absolutely mental. That was again in Russia.
Slags.
What's? Are you back, Joey?
Yeah, I think so.
Crack on with what you were saying then.
I have no idea how much of it you heard, but I was just saying I think Commey might be shot, and I appreciate he hasn't had a load of hard fights, but that Easter fight was extremely tough, and the first 8 rounds or however long it was before the stream died, because that's all I saw. I thought he looked way off the pace.
Yeah, he was getting bullied, wasn't he?
Yeah, it's a shame though because he's good.
I wouldn't say he was shot. He's still got a lot of miles in the tank for me. He's just had 2 hard fights and come up short on both being on the road.
No,
the Easter fight was close.
He's obviously not completely shot. There was just a few signs in him. I think maybe he's on his way to it because that's some tough fights back to back there.
Yeah,
I don't know. I think with the right fight and the right opponent, I think he could get a title. But as you say, he's going to be a road warrior. So getting that right opponent will probably prove quite difficult for him.
Well, nobody in Britain's going to fight him.
Well, Derry Duck
Fuck no.
didn't he, for the Commonwealth, for fuck's sake?
Yeah.
That was pretty shameless duck as well, that, and he was making out he didn't. And it was like, when he was getting promoted by Steve Goodwin, of all people.
Obviously, Gary Buckland didn't because he's Welsh and he's solid.
Buckland was the first person to take Commey to points.
Lost every round, though.
Yeah, it doesn't matter.
It's a shame, really, that people come from just countries that don't really give a fuck or no one's going to travel there, and they do get shafted on the road. No, shafted's wrong, but you get decisions go against you where you would probably get them at home. Like I would say, if he was fighting Easter in Ghana, I think he would have got the nod there, don't you?
It's a tough one, isn't it? Really, because I mean, he's like I said, he's always either going to have fighting on a neutral venue or a foreign venue. It's. But then again, you've had fighters that have come from small. You don't see Golovkin or other fighters like that moaning if they're going to be robbed by the judges or things because they're not going to get to fight in Kazakhstan or they're not going to get to fight in Georgia or wherever they are. I think it's like anything. It's down to the country that you're fighting in, how much you trust the judges or not. And that's why I said I think Commey lost both of his fights. I don't think there's an issue with either of his 2 losses. I think he was in 2 good competitive close fights, didn't do enough to win them. That's all. Yeah, it's like the old Martin Murray Martinez excuse.
The judges weren't bad at all in the Easter fight. I think one judge had it Commey by a point and one had it against him by a point and the other against him by 2. So he hasn't been that much of a victim of the system. The best he can realistically hope for is to be on like a Monaco card.
Well, he's promoted by the Sauerlands, isn't he?
Yeah, well, has he ever... I think he's fought like 1, maybe 2 fights on Sauerland shows. So it's not like... It's not...
They've been little shit ones as well.
But it's not like they've, promoted him and built him in Germany at all.
Right, anyway, let's move on from one bleak place in Russia to the probably bleaker. Let's go to Paisley in Scotland for Billy Joe Saunders versus Akavov.
Can I start?
Now, I think everyone... What was that, Pops?
Can I start us off on this?
You can, go.
Right, I had a free ticket, a good seat, like a fucking kind of ringside, but obviously Frank Warren doesn't do ringside, is like inner ringside or something like that. So I had a free ticket and I didn't go because the card was fucking shite. And more importantly, see the last time I was at a boxing event in the Paisley Lagoon Centre, it was Willie Lemon was fighting, he was meant to fight some guy for a WBU belt. But the boy failed the medical because he had some sort of blood infection. So he fought Harry Ramagodi in the main event. So anyway, about 8 o'clock at night, I went into the toilet and somebody had shat all over the floor. And it was just, you never seen anything like this in your life. It is like the most backwardest place ever out in Paisley. It's a fucking shithole.
What, is that like I'll pardon your pun on the shithole comment, Pops, but is that like an everyday occurrence in Paisley?
Probably, aye. Like Paisley's like right on the edge of Glasgow. It's like right in the city bounds, so it's like no actual part of Glasgow, but people don't realise that. But it is the most unexpected place that you would find a world title fight ever. I mean, it's
How come they're doing shows there? Is there nowhere in Glasgow, like a small venue?
Well, the show, it's a leisure centre. It's an actual leisure centre. Normally, because it was an MGM show, normally MGM run shows at a, what do you call it again? Like another place just outside Glasgow City Centre, which is like a leisure centre as well, but it's bigger. I'm assuming that must have been booked, so then they've went and booked out the Lagoon Centre in Paisley, because like they couldn't book the Hydro because they're no pulling. They've only been MGM Scotland have only been going for like 2 years, so they're no pulling big massive crowds. So like, they couldn't book the Hydro, the SCCC, or anywhere like that. So like these places are like kind of the next best option sort of a thing. Do you know what I mean? So that's why it was there.
Saunders weren't supposed to be on the card either, so they weren't.
That's right, exactly, because originally it was just a normal show, but then what happened?
Jack Catterall was going to headline it.
Jack Catterall got involved, and Paul Butler got added as well because the team will get pulled out of a fight or something like that, or whatever. Something, and Butler and Catterall get added. But before that, it was just like a normal show, so that's why it was in a place like that. But looking on the TV, it didn't look like it was sold out, which is... I can't even take a guess at the numbers it done, because it is such a small... I mean, it's like basically it's like leisure centre / community type thing. Do you know what I mean?
It looked awful. Like it just looked like a tiny little venue. That was all it was. But then again, I don't know if it's a weird thing. I mean, for Scottish fans to turn out, they were there to watch their guys. They weren't there to watch Billy Joe Saunders, were they? And they weren't there to see Catterall. They weren't there to see Paul Butler. They were there to see the guys that had been fighting. Like, was it Tommy Philbin was on the undercard?
There was a few, but most.
Yeah, so they'd have been there for that, wouldn't they?
There was a few boys. There was a few boys, but that come through Edinburgh that were on the ball. I think there was 2 boys for like Glasgow, but it was just like that arena type thing, isn't it? It's like I noticed there's like seats that kind of surround half it, but they were like blacked out, like tarpaulin out, so they only had the floor space. So I couldn't even get a guess at how many people were in there, because the capacity isn't big in the first place, and they didn't have more than half it open. You know what I mean?
It's got to only be a few hundred in it.
Anyway. But I think round about that, mate, I would say probably, I guess, about 300, 400 top.
But again,
so I'm glad.
Billy Joe Saunders can count himself lucky there was only that few people there to watch him turn out an absolute turd of a performance. I think, have you all seen this fight? Other than Pops, you only watched a bit of it, haven't you?
I'm not going to watch it.
Sorry, mate. I watched about 4 or 5 rounds of it, and then I just went to my bed, and I never do that.
You did the right thing.
I normally just sit and watch anything, and I just got to 4 or 5 rounds, and I'm like, I can't watch this anymore. It was just because the whole event was kind of, there was nothing. It was just like kind of methodical. There was nothing, no excitement, no flashiness. It was just kind of boring, methodical kind of fights. So I got to the point, I'm like, that's it. But when I had left, I had Akavov. I had him winning the fight when I had left. But see, I'll just finish on this, and then let you take it away with it. See the guy, is it Jake or something like that? The guy that was in Billy Joe Saunders' corner. Is it Jake or something?
And it built. That Davison chat, Ben Davison.
Yeah, Ben Davison.
He was fucking comical, wasn't he? All he kept saying, and I'd seen it at 4 or 5 rounds, as I said, and every time Billy Joe Saunders came back to the corner, but all he would say is, breathe, take a deep breath, feint, slow your feint, breathe, throw a feint, slow your feint, breathe. That was it. That's all he said for like literally the full minute he was in the corner. And then at one point he told, I think Danny Vaughan had tried to give him Billy Joe Saunders some sort of like strategy or whatever, and he told Danny to be quiet. And I don't understand. He seemed to be like a young guy that didn't really have a lot of experience in that situation. And obviously Danny was trying to like kind of help him, and he just kind of told me to be quiet and shut up. Basically, it was very, very, the full situation was very, very odd. That's all I've got to see. You can on about.
The fight itself, like I said, it's a good thing that no one did see it. But I I was out on the night and I messaged you lot saying, was it as bad as everyone says? You all said yes, but I thought, okay, well, I'll watch it in full anyway. And it really was. I mean, it didn't look like you were watching a Billy Joe Saunders fight. His punches were so unsharp. He was missing a lot of shots. And it wasn't that he was in with, some slick mover. He just looked so out of it. He looked like a guy that hadn't fought in a long time. He looked like a guy that hadn't really trained properly. Or if he has trained properly, his training may well have just been to physically lose the weight rather than actually train for a fight. The corner work was, like Pop said then, it was just hilarious. It was like listening to someone like read the shipping forecast. It was just repeating the same lines. And Billy Joe wasn't even looking at him, wasn't paying attention to him. No one publicly really knows what's going on with him in Tibbs. And Coogan said in that interview that he on Twitter that he wouldn't ask him. Billy Joe's asked him not to speak about it. But it was just a really flat performance. If you were, I don't know, if you're an American promoter and you're sat thinking about making a Saunders Eubank fight, Saunders Golovkin, or if you're sat there thinking about making Saunders Canelo, apart from the belt, off of that performance, you really wouldn't bother. And in boxing, as much as it's unfair, you're only as good as the fight you were just in. And the Billy Joe Saunders that looked so good against Andy Lee, I thought he was really impressive. Schooled Chris Eubank Jr. for 6-7 rounds, completely schooled him. He didn't look anything like the same fighter. He's not shot at all because the ability's still there, but he looked so untrained, unmotivated. Akavov, I don't think it was that Akavov was better than we all thought. No one knew what Akavov was going to be like. I thought he was good. I think people that say Akavov won the fight are wrong, but it was far too close for what it should have been. If he really thinks, and the good thing with Saunders is he did acknowledge it. He said it was shit. He didn't come out and try and pretend what it wasn't. He said it was poor, and that if he'd have been fighting Golovkin that night, he'd have got smashed to bits.
But why is that a good thing?
He couldn't say anything else.
Like, what? Right,
Right, one at a time. Dewey, say your thing, and then Ainsley, you can have a rant on it because I know you've got strong feelings.
You can't give him credit for saying I was crap when he was crap. That's just common sense. I don't give him any credit for recognising that he was awful.
Exactly.
You'd be hard pushed to think he was anything. Right, one at a time.
It's better that than coming out and saying, like, deluded, thinking, I wasn't at my sharpest, or I hurt my hand, or coming out with some bollocks. I'm not saying it's a great thing, but at least
that as well, though. He did say that. I beat a good challenger when I wasn't at my best, so how good can I be on my day? He did say, words to that sentiment as well.
But why?
Which you could argue is a fair point.
Yeah,
he beat someone when he looked absolutely. He beat someone when he looked terrible. So it's like he's acknowledged to himself, if I'm ever going to win anything again, if he was fighting Chris Eubank Jr. now, most people I think would pick Eubank, even though Eubank's not been active.
Having common sense.
Well, yeah, this is boxing. There's a very, very small amount of common sense.
All right, then you're giving him credit for saying something which is undeniably true.
Yeah.
Right, I just want to say,
people are doing it. It's fucking ridiculous. What?
I just want to say, I haven't seen anyone give him credit. It's refreshing to hear someone come out and actually say they were shit when they were shit. You don't often get that. And the only positive Billy Joe can take from that is he can't possibly be that bad again. He physically can't.
Agreed.
He's shown nothing. He's shown nothing before that fight. To show that he's that level. He's much better than that.
Sam,
the only problem is he's a fat slob who can't be fucked.
Sam, he's had 12 months out of the ring. So it's not like he hasn't known that he's got a fight coming up. He's had plenty of notice, and he's still coming woefully underprepared.
Exactly. This goes back to my point of him being a fat slob, just like the other travellers, like Fury. They all think they can coast on talent alone, and he's not good enough to do it. And I think he's going to get a kick up the arse. Or maybe Tibbs tried to give him a kick up the arse, and he wasn't interested, and that's why they fell out. Because do you think Jimmy Tibbs needs to be at 70 years old taking shit from Billy Joe Saunders? Like, fuck, does he?
No. But right.
Go.
Why is it this? Oh, well, you're getting credit for him acknowledging he's being a dickhead and not trained. So then, and I know this is not the case with this fight, but then say what about all the fucking Muppets who bought tickets and all this shit for him? Oh, now it's all right that we fucked about buying tickets to go and watch him, but because he admitted to being a lazy cunt and that he didn't give a shit. And it's just like a fucking pre-built excuse. All he wants, and it's been obvious since the second he even became mandatory, is he wants a fucking cash out to fuck off. And he shouldn't be obliged. If he's not going to get the same offer that he got for Triple G now unless he does something else. And it's all right to say he's never going to be that bad again, because how do you know? He's obviously just a fucking idiot. If he's got fucking that guy in his corner, he's not going to be kicking him arse while he's training him. He'll probably be training himself. It's fucking bullshit.
Well, he has trained himself, hasn't he? That guy's not a trainer.
No,
I'm not being he's not.
Like to come out after and then everyone fucking get right up his arse. Oh well, he said he'd not trained and he said he'd just been getting fat for a year. So fucking what? Like that? Everyone fucking went mental at Barker when he went and fought Stern when his fucking hip was fucked, right? Which is a fucking lot more noble than then just turning around after a fight and admitting, oh yeah, I've just been a fat cunt for you. That's why I was so shit. Against a fucking pudding. Akavov's probably European level, if not lower than that.
I agree. And there was a moment in like the 9th round where Billy Joe did like next to nothing up until that point. He let him probably about 6 shots go, and he had that Akavov on the run for the rest of the round. This wasn't like, obviously he was hungry, but he wasn't very good at all. We'll probably not hear from him again.
It's just
hungry.
ridiculous.
Fucking Billy Joe was hungry. He was fucking starving.
I've seen Billy Joe. I don't know whether Billy Joe said it himself or someone said it on his behalf, but he got up to £210.
I've seen that.
How's that possible?
Shush, that's fucking. If that's true for the way he fights it, that's just. He's just obviously plainly doesn't give a fuck.
But it doesn't take a fucking year to get that off. Because Brooks been known to fucking get up near £200, and he's not fucking decided to have a year off to next fucking weight.
I don't understand.
But Brooks trains when he's in camp, doesn't he?
Yeah, I know, but this is what I mean. But no one would be fucking letting Brook off. No one would give him a fucking pass to say, no, I fought Jojo Dan because I've decided to get fat for a year, and I've not trained off fuck all. You can't, like, that excuse is just fucking nonsense.
No one's letting him off. All they're saying is that he's not. It's not that he's letting him off, and he's damaged his stock massively on Saturday night. Like he's gone from being someone that, even though he's been out of the ring, most people have him probably at the top 3 at that weight. A lot of people do, behind the 2 big boys. So he's gone from that to now a lot of people massively questioning him. People are not making excuses. I'm not making an excuse for him. I'm just saying he must have looked at himself in that situation and gone, do you know what? I've not had a proper camp. I've been messing around with these idiots from MGM. That's not going to change, but I've got this out of the way now. I could have so easily lost my world title that night. Now I'll go back and do it properly. Now the time that he can be absolutely hammered is if he gets a decent fight and shows up for it like that again, then absolutely deserves to be hammered and lose whatever small amount of fans he's got. I don't think it's a traveller thing or anything like that. I just think it was the fact that he wasn't. He's not the first fighter to do it. He won't be the last fighter to do it, will he? I think from what we've seen of him in the past, he's a really talented guy. If he gets in shape, he can win. Only he can motivate himself with that. I don't understand why there's such a massive amount of hate for what he's done. I don't get it personally.
Right,
but
I'm going to fire out some names to you.
Look,
I want you to tell me whether you think he can beat them.
2 seconds. Can I just answer Paul's question there?
Yeah, go ahead.
I think the reason why he's getting so much hate for it, Paul, is because for the last fucking year, all he's done is call out fucking Golovkin and Canelo and fucking say he'll fucking beat them and do this and do that. And then he goes, can he keep himself in weight? Can he fucking train and be a professional athlete, what he is? And goes and puts a performance on like that. Of course he's going to get fucking hate for it. Why would he know?
Yeah, the thing is, the way I'd say it is now, he turned down $2 million or whatever it was to Triple G. They should never offer him that again. They shouldn't just be able to ransom pay him because he's going to get beat soon. Like, for like the top 5 of the WBO at the minute had beat him. And like, everyone going on about how good that Andy Lee win was. Let's get fucking serious here. Andy Lee was shit against Jackson and fucking knocked him out. Decent knockout, but he was shit against him. He was fucking shit against Korobov until he knocked him out. So and it weren't great against fucking Quillen, who then got absolutely smashed by Jacobs. So like everyone going on like Andy Lee's some great win. It's a good win, but it's been fucking proven if you don't get knocked out by Andy Lee, you've got a very, very, very good chance of beating him under fucking under Adam Booth. So that win is so overrated. It is untrue. Saunders is so overrated. It's untrue.
Well, he's going to have back-to-back mandatories now, isn't he? Which is
that's what I was just going to say. Who is?
He's got the
Kurtz,
is that his Mando? Aye.
Yeah, he's got a Japanese Olympic medalist as well, isn't he?
Ryota Murat.
Yeah.
That's the one,
Is
yeah.
Murata a man?
No,
who-
he's
a man-
ranked 3, isn't he, Murray? Because Tommy Langford's ranked at 2.
Yeah.
I don't think Tommy
but
Langford's
you know
going
what?
to take it.
No.
It's been ordered though, isn't it? The WBO
Yeah.
convention a couple of weeks ago.
So
Yeah.
he's got to fight Kurtzside and
Murata. I'd say the two.
Right.
I reckon he'd got a better chance of beating Murata because I've not been that impressed with him. But-
Same me. I've not been since he came into the Olympics. I've seen him on a few shows, and people seem to rave about him as if he's got this massive superstar potential. But I don't. I think he's quite fucking bang average, to be honest. He
But
doesn't
that,
impress me that much.
I think it's that Murata is what fucking Jamie Cox has built his career off by dropping him in sparring. I think that's the guy. I could be wrong though, but that's
Another one of your favourites, Jamie Cox.
yeah.
Right, anyway, I'm going to fire out some names and you tell me whether you think Billy Joe beats him, yes or no. Do you think he beats David Lemieux?
No.
Yes.
No.
What
What about Curtis Stevens? Do you think he would beat Curtis Stevens?
That's a toss up.
Mm.
Toss up that.
Yeah, I'm the same.
Even someone, if he turned up in the same sort of or similar condition to what he did on Sunday, do you think he'd beat someone like Hassan and Dam even now?
No.
No.
And Dan's fucking decent, you know. Like he's got a weird chin where he seems to get knocked down a lot. But, like
If he turns up in that condition, he turned up on Saturday. Any fucking top 10 opponent, like actual top 10, no fucking top 10 fucking in fucking body. You know what I mean? An actual top 10 fight. It would have been fucking. There would have no chance. He was blown out his ass after fucking 3 rounds.
Absolutely agree with that.
He was fucked after 30 seconds. He literally got into that ring running on fumes.
Yeah.
On absolute fumes. And the game plan was to do as minimum as possible and try and win. That's what it all was like. Oh, only work for 20 seconds around, win a round by doing a 20-second burst. It's like, what the fuck am I listening to?
I think he must have been
win a fight like that.
He must have been watching some Arthur Abraham before he went out to the ring. The problem that Saunders has got,
At least Abraham doesn't shit punches. He just takes them on the gloves.
and also it's the power thing. So you can fight like a lazy bastard if you can hurt your opponent. The problem is Billy Joe relies on his movement in boxing. You can't sit on the ropes for 2 minutes and then try and have little bursts. He needs to be boxing constantly. I think if you were to base it on that performance, like Pop said, he'd have lost against anyone credible. Akavov was barely credible, but if he shows up in shape, I think he's very capable of beating the majority of the fighters you just named. I think the Lemieux fight is one, and also my biggest issue with Billy Joe Saunders was I'm not quite sure quite how it fell apart, but why he didn't take that fight on the Smith Canelo undercard. I think that was one of the stupidest. Forget he turned down the $2 million.
Because he couldn't make the weight, obviously.
Yeah,
it was absolutely ridiculous that he didn't take that against Gabe Rosado, who was tailor-made to get beaten up.
Because he's obviously been fucking out of shape and fucking living the high life. It's all.
But you know what? Sorry, Pops. Go on, finish now.
So it's just a quick point. Just after the way he obviously performed on Saturday and then the way that it's come out that he's fucking not been in shape, that's obviously why he's turned down that fight, and that's obviously why this fucking fight got pulled for the Cardiff Bowl in the first place, because he's been so fucking much overweight. He's needed more time. It's fucking crazy. The full situation, you know what I mean? You get there, get to be a world champion, and then you just basically go and just can't be asked to do what you've not got the hunger or the desire to do what got you there in the first place. We see it happening a lot. I mean, it happens a lot in boxing, but it's strange, very strange.
But
usually though, when they've made their millions, I'm sure Billy Joe's been well paid, but I doubt he's made millions yet.
Well, he got a few $100,000 for fights.
Yeah, but they're not. That's not like life-changing money, is it? Not if you're. I can't imagine he's the most intelligent guy with his money. I bet he spunks it up the wall.
Yeah, it doesn't matter.
It is if you pay no income tax.
Press pass. You're getting racist now. Right, Ainsley, last word on this and we move on.
no, it was just on the Canelo thing. So it might have been Devella or someone basically said that Saunders had been demanding to fight some fucking. Apparently, picked out like 3 Russian guys with Ivan, like who were basically prospects. And then Saunders has made out he didn't choose Akavov, but I reckon that he tried to fucking get Akavov on that undercard and they told him to fuck off. But he's just an idiot, man. Like I've no time for him. I fucking hope he loses next. If he gets a fucking payday against like Triple G or something, it's gonna be fucking really annoying.
Well, anyway, I'm going to say 2016. He can put that to bed. He's kept hold of his title somehow. 2017 can only be better for him, and we'll see what happens. But I don't hold out much hope of him changing his ways. He's going to be a lazy bastard till he dies, unfortunately. So I think he'll get beat sooner or later.
Mm-hmm.
Right, anyway, let's start with the previews. We got fucking shitloads of these to do. We'll start with a half-decent heavyweight fight. Andy Ruiz versus Joseph Parker. Again, Joseph Parker, someone Ainsley's not too keen on, if you can believe that.
Finally, me and Ainsley are going to agree on something tonight.
But I did say after Takam, though, that he was a bit better, but then he went and fucking fucked about in his last fight. I forgot who it was against now. Was it Dimitrenko?
Oh.
Dimitrenko.
Yeah.
Yeah, Dimitrenko. He hit him when he was on his knees, and he smashed him into the body.
On the ref blind.
Right, anyway, we're not here to talk about that. We're here to talk about him versus Ruiz. Yeah. I think Ruiz is getting overlooked by some in this fight because he's not as shit as people make out. To look at him, he's just a fat blob, but he's actually got some skills, and he's got fast hands for someone as big and as fat as he is. I think he could cause some early problems, but he's going to slow down later on because he is out of shape, and Parker might stop him late or get a white or a 4 or 5 sort of point victory.
He's never gassed though, is he, Ruiz?
Yeah, but Parker's got a bit of a work rate about him and fast hands himself. I think he's going to make
Parker gassed the fuck against Takam though. Like,
yeah, but Takam's always come forward, and again, he's a big lump. Takam. I don't think Ruiz is going to fight that same sort of way.
Yeah, I don't think Parker is, but I reckon Parker's probably got up there with the fastest hands in the division.
Yeah.
I don't know. I don't really know what's going to happen in that one. I'm just going to decide. I'm just going to chuck a random bet on and see how it falls.
I think
it's a really good fight, in my opinion.
I think
really good fight.
I said though that Ruiz would beat Yui Fury because Yui Fury is 2-1 pace and just fucks about. Like, so I sort of thought when they made that fight, I thought it was a strange one, but obviously
I think we'll get an upset. I mean, I've not been that high on Parker as much as some people have. I just think he's very, very basic. That's all. And his win against Takam, a lot of people were doing that's better than anything Joshua's won comparison, but it still, for me, didn't give me the impression that he was any sort of world beater. I think that Ruiz might look like an ugly fat lump, and he doesn't help that his condition doesn't do him any favours. He physically is probably quite fit. You know, like I said, I can't remember him gassing, and he has gone late rounds in fights. But I really think he might get the upset. I think he can possibly stop Parker.
Don't know what judging's like down there, though, because it's not that often, is it? So we don't know what's going to go on. You know, I don't want to get conspiracy corner out again, but you know what I mean. So if he were fighting Joshua and Joshua had the same skill set as Parker, you'd be like, well, he's got to knock him out to beat him. I don't know if that's the case.
Well, I know what you're saying. That the deck is heavily stacked in Parker's favour, obviously.
Well, let's just hope there's no any dodgy scorecards, because I mean, there's going to be 50 million people watching this. So the spotlight.
It was 150 million. It was 50 million in Mexico alone.
Oh, was it 150 million?
Yeah.
Most of my family live over there, and I messaged a couple of them saying, "Are you aware this fight's on?" And the answer was just, "Nope." Okay, never mind.
Well, he's got the Burger King money as well, and I can't imagine Burger King want to take a loss this early in Parker's career. So I think
Burger King should sponsor Ruiz. They'd love that.
No, they've offered Ruiz a few whoppers to take a dive. So
Ruiz will be in there for his pre-match fight, won't he? His
I've heard that's what's going to happen if Ruiz gets knocked out like Trinovsky. They're not going to bother with smelling salts. They're just going to get a bacon double cheese.
Extra large bacon double cheese and wake me up. I tell you, fuck me.
I could murder one of them right now.
Right. Anyway, we'll just quickly touch on this. Who do you think's going to win? Press pass. You're going Ruiz. Ainsley, I'm interested to see what you say. Don't sit on the fence. Who do you think's going to win?
Parker, but no, I have no confidence in that at all.
Cool. Dewey?
Will survive and pull through on points. Cal said in the chat earlier that Parker on points is 3-1, and if it goes to the cards at home and is semi-competitive, he's probably going to get it, 116 or 112.
Bear in mind, Cal's never seen Ruiz. He's just saying that.
Yeah, he thought it was John Ruiz.
Pops, are you going with?
On you go, please.
The Maori or?
Oh yeah, looking forward to his walkout.
I'm going for Parker points, possible late stoppage, but I think if what Joe was saying is correct there, if Parker's 3-1 on points, I think we'll be having a wee bet on that.
Good. Like I said, I'm going Parker late TKO, KO, or points. This fight's being shown on HBO as well as Molina versus Crawford, which I don't really give a fuck about at all. But does anyone want to talk about it?
No.
No. Let's not talk about the proper stupid fights because it's just going to
Let's
annoy
not
me.
talk about any fight involving someone called Molina. Ever.
Did you see Tom Craze put that tweet out that if you bet on both Molinas, it's 264 to 1?
Molina double.
It's probably that.
I just want to say quickly, I'm a big fan of Crawford. I rate him highly, obviously, as most people do. But if he fails to get rid of Molina in like 8 rounds, I'm jumping off that train. I can't be fucked with that.
It's a bad fight for him.
It's probably 200 to 1 for the both of them to hear the final bell.
Yeah.
I don't think it's a bad fight for him, press pass.
I think it's just a bit.
Crawford's skill set, he should be able to get rid of people like this, but not a fucking problem. It's just whether he chooses to.
Yeah, I guess he's just a bit flat because obviously he's been matched. So I think he's been matched quite toughly, and he's really looked good in all of his fights he's had. I'm a big Terence Crawford fan. I think he's, certainly top ranks heir apparent, isn't he? What a fight I'm desperate for, obviously, is the Manny fight, but that ain't going to happen. I think it's okay. It's just, I don't know, any sort of HBO main event fight. It's different over here because we get served up shit all the time, but any HBO main event where one of the guys is 100 to 1 on to win, I'm not really a big fan of that.
It's one of the fights that if you've got nothing else to do, you'll watch it, but you'll not go out your way to watch it. It's not really exciting. It's just that kind of fucking tick over, keep busy till something better comes along in it. It's not really an eye-catching fucking fight. Do you know what I mean? I'll probably not watch it to fucking.
The thing is, it's not Crawford's first just stay busy fight, is it? He's had 3 or 4 now. But he's just never going to lose.
I think Bob needs to just fucking bite the bullet. But to be fair though, he fought Postol, who's the second best in the division.
I know that was a decent win. But leading up to that, he had like the Thomas Dollar fights and
that was shit, wasn't it?
He's had a few too many of those.
I think Crawford's too good for his own good in a way. He's too good too soon. So there's not any value in fighting him at the minute because they don't get pay-per-view and whatnot. But then people like Manny and that, they're not going to bother fighting him because they don't want to get beat. Because if Manny loses now, he's finished.
That's a good point. He's sort of stuck in between a rock and a hard place, isn't he?
Yeah.
I've heard from Crawford as well. He's prepared to come over to fight Ricky Burns again as long as no judges are involved. He doesn't want any Scottish judges or any British judges because we all know they mark at the scorecard before the fight's begun.
Or any judges, just fight to the death.
Well, he got offered the Burns rematch, and apparently in the contract he already said one card will be pre-filled out 116, 111 for Burns.
Well, that was about 116, 114.
Chucking shit at him as well.
Yeah.
There's nothing else on this card really. Hold on, let me just have a quick look. What else we got in there? Yeah.
He could fight the guy who just iced Troy Noski.
Yeah, I reckon Hearn will jump in on that one first, though.
Raimundo Beltran's back out. Dirty drug cheat. Don't really care.
Boo.
Sean Monahan, the light heavyweight. A few people tout him as a good prospect, don't they?
No. Slow.
Only Mrs. Monahan.
In fact, Cleverly might end up fighting Monahan next year, If he beats Bramer again, that might end up, because I think...
Wasn't there talk of Joe Smith Jr. versus Monahan?
Yeah, there was. Because they're both from... is it
they're both from, New York way, aren't they?
New York, aye.
I think...
From Long Island, isn't he?
That's it, yeah.
Well, there's nothing else on that worth mentioning. Let's stay in New York. We got Jamel Charlo versus J. Rock Williams.
Right.
I don't like light middleweight, but the division's starting to come alive now. I say coming alive. 2 of them are fighting each other. There's fuck all else going on there.
That's the biggest fucking bullshit statement ever. It's the dullest division in the sport. And
I fucking hate it. I literally cannot stand it. I look at 154 whenever there's a fight on. I just do not care. I know people really like Andrade, but again, I don't give a fuck. He's talented, but he ain't gonna fight no cunt.
Well, J-Rock's the American Spencer Fearon, basically. I honestly, I hope he gets fucking stretched, man. He annoys me, whinging all the time. Just can't get fights. You fucking signed with Al Heyman. What did you expect?
Is this the good Charlo or the bad Charlo?
This is the good Charlo.
This is the good Charlo. Okay.
I think. Well, I'm just saying it because I'm hopeful. I've no idea, but I hope fucking Charlo beats him. and then he'll get fucking bummed off into obscurity and probably never hear from him again. So that's a complete win all round.
It is a good fight, this though, but like because it is like middleweight, no one gives a fuck.
Mate, it'll go 12 rounds, it'll be really well boxed, and it'll be a fairly close decision. It'll be boring. Unfortunately, there's just something about that division where it doesn't matter what matchups they get in, it's just any division where Lara's a key player, it's just dull.
Lara's not a key player anymore, man.
It's hashtag Team Black Slickness, that division, isn't it?
That's what it is. It's incredible. It's very, very good boxing. It's one for the purists. And we like a good boxer, but they're not that good that we get like in awe of watching them. But they're just, a bit
It's basically
flat,
a division where Brian has his trousers down by his ankles with some baby lotion watching it.
And he pretends that he really enjoys it, when in reality he just likes watching like two guys like put their heads down and swing away Katsida style.
Yeah, he enjoys watching the fights that he says he hates. That's Brian. We got Abner Mares versus Jesus Queller on there, which is also quite a good fight. Which is somehow the main event, but it's for the bullshit WBA. I don't know.
They upgraded that, didn't they? Or did that? The title's only just been added. Is that right?
No,
I thought it was for the fake one, but I don't know if they've upgraded it.
No, Frampton has the main WBA. They haven't upgraded it.
Yeah, but Queller's been the regular for ages. Yeah, but incidentally, this is just a complete fucking side note. So Frampton didn't get a belt when he beat Quigg. He didn't get the fake WBA belt. He beat Santa Cruz for the super belt, and they sent him the fake one.
They all look the same though, don't they?
Yeah, there's a marked difference. I can tell the difference, but it's just like it's a pointless little thing, but it's just strange that
I've seen Nathan's WBA regular and his WBA Intercontinental, and
they're the same belt.
So
they look exactly the same.
The super belt is like
it's different. It's got winged at the side ends in it. There's that slight the gold thing is
going. It's a bit better,
I've just noticed. Hold on a minute, Carpus, 2 seconds. Why the fuck have the WBC fucking shoehorned the WBC diamond belt into this?
We'll get onto that bullshit later on. We'll get onto that later on.
I know why that is, but
it fucking pisses me off. See that fucking Maurizio Sullivan cunt prick.
About this fight, didn't Abner Mares get refused a license only a few months back because his eyes fucked?
Yeah,
the States.
Just pour your money on Queller by KO, man. I'm telling you now.
Yeah, I was thinking that.
It'll pay for Christmas.
Mares will Cyclops up in 3 rounds.
I forgot to mention this. Paddy Power gave Ainsley an early Christmas present on the weekend. They were taking bets on Chakayev getting beat like 3 hours after the fight, and they fucking paid out on it.
Yeah, news on that. They've put my account to minus 50 odd quid.
Oh,
I'm not. But I've spoken to someone in the know. I said just don't put any money in. He says they won't chase you for it. I'm not. They can get fucked anyway. If they ask me for that, I just say, well, you shouldn't have took the bet. It's not my fucking problem.
Right. Anyway, there's enough. Erickson Lubin's on this as well, and Hugo Centeno Jr. But they're both in. I don't know who they're fighting. Ronald Montez is Hugo Centeno's opponent, and Juan Ubaldo Cabrera, 23-1. Anyone heard of him?
No.
I had him sparring one of my.
Or the Paddy McCourt?
No, don't be silly.
Josecito Lopez is on this as well. He's 33-7 now.
Fucking hell.
Yeah, he's according to BoxRec, he's first on. Retire, please. You just end up hurt.
It's time.
Right, let's go to Manchester now for the big one.
Oh, let's skip some of the fights on this because
I was saying to Ainsley earlier on that I've been struggling to sleep, and I think I know why. I've been too excited to sleep for Scott Quigg's return. I think that's what it is.
Quigg's injured. He's off the card.
Oh, well, I'll be sleepless for a few more nights then. Press pass. Do you want to talk about your man, Cal Yafai, getting beat by Conception?
Well, obviously that's not going to happen, which is the most important thing to remember, is that he will become a world champion on Saturday night, which we're all as a group excited for. We're going to play this next week. Yeah. Now, do you know what? It's an incredibly difficult fight for Cal. I think the fact that he's the favourite is wrong. I think that Conception should be the favourite. He's proved at this level. Yafai, because of how difficult that division is, to get any real opponents between kind of average and very good. Other fighters have found this as well. I think it's a real big question. I think he's a very, very good fighter. I think he can. I don't know. I don't think he won't knock Conception out, but I think he has a chance of winning at 1 point. But he goes in for me as an underdog. But
This isn't Charlie Edwards, Casemiro. You know, it's not the same. I'll regret fucking saying that as well when he gets sparked out in 6 rounds. But I just don't think it's the same fight. I think it's probably the most competitive, most interesting fight on the bill. It's a shame that no one will be watching it because they'll be watching Katie Taylor fucking spar pads. But it is what it is.
Is this the fight on first or second before they scramble the thing?
So Hosea Burton is the first one. Burton Buglioni. This is what they've not officially announced it, but this is how I know it will go. It will go Burton Buglioni. Then I think it'll be a toss-up between Callum Smith's fight and Yafai. I think they might put Callum Smith's on next. Then they'll do
something in between because of Gallagher.
Well, yes, that's what I mean. It's whether that's the chance that Yafai could fall right to like the 7 p.m. slot, which is possible. They'll put Katie Taylor on just before the main event, and then Chisora White going top to bottom. I think Scott Quigg will be really high up the card as well. Scott Quigg's fight, which we'll get onto in a minute, but is just shit, will be after some really good, well, the 2 really interesting fights on the card in Burton Buglioni and Yafai Conception. But that's just how Smatchroom do it. And like I said, it'll be a big push for Taylor. And Conor Benn, of course, will probably get on a decent slot as well.
Oh, Carpy, Frampton has just tweeted you. Well, not tweeted you, but sort of tweeted to you. Anybody struggling to sweep? Me versus Quigg is on Sky Sports 3 now.
What a shit fight. If I wasn't that drunk, I'd have really hated that fight.
Oh, you was with good company though, weren't you?
Oh, Charles with terrific company. Well, no, actually, no, I wasn't. That's not true.
Right,
Anyway.
Dillian White versus Derek Chisora is possibly
I'm going for
the worst fight on the card, I think. I think that is going to be absolutely atrocious.
It's going to be
Derek, man. It's got to be Derek.
Yeah, I think Chisora will beat him, but I'm just saying that because I like Chisora. Donkey. Who's the donkey now?
Donkey.
There's something about Chisora that's just, even though he always lets himself down when it comes to the main fight, he's just got to have more talent than White. I think Dillian White at some point has got to lose because otherwise he'll get a major fight that he has no place deserving. And then hopefully it's this. But then again, I don't want to see Joshua Chisora. So I hope
this is the final WBC eliminator. So I think what's happening is Hearn is having to serve up a dud for Al Heyman in return for him.
It's not a final eliminator.
It's not a final eliminator.
I thought it was a final eliminator.
So some casual's been listening to the Asylum.
No. I seen a tweet about it earlier on. It was listed somewhere as a WBC final eliminator.
It's listed on BoxRec as a final eliminator, but it's no. It's one of these ones that fucking Hearn. Remember when Callum Smith fought Suzuka about fucking 2 years ago? They called that an eliminator. It's one of these ones. They called Luke Campbell when he fought Tommy Coyle for the WBC International an official eliminator. It's one of these ones. It's the same thing.
All it basically means is that the winner will get moved up the rankings in the
exactly, aye.
That's it.
People seem to be. I don't know why BoxRec have got it down as a final eliminator, but it's no, because fucking Povetkin and Hingley. What do you call it?
Povetkin's the firm winner's going to be the mandatory.
There you go. So
and then I think that there might be another one getting stacked up as we speak. But fuck knows. This card is shit. I'm just going to fucking go over it. Alan, as much as he's sounding shit, he shouldn't be fucking fighting Ortiz. Callum Smith, another fucking joke of a fight. Blackledge is shit. He got dropped by that fucking bum in his last fight. Nearly sent to fucking Elvis Dube, nearly sent to fucking hell. So, like, what the fuck's that all about? Burton Buglion is the best fight on the card, getting no attention. White Chisora, just whatever, we've gone over that. I hope your five's probably going to get spangled.
Don't say I hope. I heard you went to say I hope he gets spangled then.
Yeah,
you can take that back, please.
I didn't say I hope. I said I think he will. I didn't mean to say I hope. So don't fucking calm your lip. And the Quigg fight is a disgrace. That AJ fight's a disgrace. I swear to God, there was a fucking article that someone posted on Twitter and like yesterday, and it was like just a blurb from it. And it was basically like, oh, Anthony Joshua was threatening to take Molina to points. What sort of fucking world is that?
Posted that.
Fucking mental.
Well, the one question I'll say with this, we're not going to talk. I know Carpy doesn't want to talk pay-per-view because we have done it to death. But has Hearn built a pay-per-view card? For me, he's got a main event which we all know the outcome, and no, the card is so poor. Even though you look at the poster and you see an awful lot of names and it looks impressive, but there's nothing really on there. It's just.
But it's to draw the casuals in again. That's why. That's what he's done, and he's put the names on. So the people who don't know what they're looking at just think, "Oh, look, he's on here. Oh, and him. Oh, Callum Smith's on it." Oh,
it's the same mistake they made with that Liverpool card, with the Bellew Cleverley one, where it was all those guys, lots and lots of names in poor fights. The Smith, Callum, like you say, if Blackledge makes it to round 2, then Callum Smith isn't as sharp and isn't as good as we thought he was going to be, because he should absolutely blow him away. He should be far. I mean, I saw Coldwell went to say something about this fight being interesting or competitive. Well, because Blackledge is English, it's not a competitive fight at all. Quigg's fight, if Quigg again, do you know what? He's been out 10 months and he needs to blast someone away. Okay, that's fine. But don't do it on a show like this. Don't do it at 9 o'clock on a pay-per-view card. And Alan Ortiz, which we spoke about before, and this is nothing against Dave Allen, because he genuinely seems like a nice bloke, but I don't understand how the board have sanctioned this fight. I really don't. And all this fight can do is potentially harm Luis Ortiz's reputation, because if Allen goes rounds with him, then there will be an awful lot of people leaving that bandwagon. The few people that remained after the rather poor showing with Scott, which wasn't really his fault, but I don't understand why that's the opponent. He needed some pudding that he could absolutely blow away and impress people. Instead, he's going to fight a guy who could never win an English title.
It's an 8 fucking rounder. What the fuck is Luis Ortiz doing in an 8 rounder?
All right,
Not a clue, mate.
Well, what I tweeted it to you earlier, I think, Press Pass. Do you not think this is just Hearn trying to make him look a fucking muppet? So then clamouring for him to fight Joshua, because it seems that way.
But what is there must be, obviously, when he signed, or you know what Hearn's like, if we've seen him do these little sit-downs with fighters, there's obviously a plan of what he wants Ortiz to do. But the 2 fights he's put him in, and he does this a lot when he signs guys, like, we'll get him out quick. They didn't need to. He'd not been inactive. Heavyweights don't fight that many times a year. But he'd have had 2 fairly the Scott fight, I'm not going to say was pointless. Going into it, it just seemed fairly routine. It was shit. But this fight against Dave Allen does absolutely nothing. And this guy's a HBO fighter. And they've got a HBO fighter fighting an 8-rounder against a guy who, I tell you what, if you put him with Nathan Gorman would knock him out.
No, he won't.
Allen's got a good chin, but I think he would beat him. He's a very, very limited heavyweight. And I don't get the board. Like I said, the board turned down Turley Moreno because it said it was unsafe because of Turley's. They said no to that fight.
They turned down.
No, they said yes to that.
They turned down. Sorry, dude.
But what my worry is here,
but the Panamanian government was supposed to be paying for the fight, and then they pulled the money, so the fight fell apart. But they passed the fight.
I thought they rejected that. Okay, but like I said, there's been fights that have said no to because of gross mismatches.
Well, they said no to White against Allen, didn't they?
Exactly. So how that, and what was that, 6 months ago? So what's changed in the last 6 months that he can't fight Dylan White and that he can go and fight a top 5 heavyweight? That's just fucking, it's ridiculous. And everybody involved should be embarrassed. It's a total fucking mismatch, and it's fucking, quite frankly, it's dangerous.
Thing is, the one thing that will save Allen on this is, like I said, it's not. I don't think Allen will take a sustained punishment. This is when fighters get hurt. I think he'll just take a shot, and I think the referee it'll be a British referee, and I think the referee will be quite sensible. I think the earliest opportunity to stop the fight, I think that was what will happen. Well, I can't see this being dragging on.
My worry here is you've got someone who served a doping ban, and he's fighting in an 8-rounder.
Yeah.
He's going to be fucking absolutely ripping out of his cunt. Absolutely fucking ripping out of his cunt on him. He's not going to get him tested for an 8-rounder. It's fuck me, man. He'll be fucking doing he'll be fucking doing HGH up way to the ring, man.
Is urine sample or melt the beef?
Yeah, he's not going to get tested for that. So, would you?
I think he does the VADA 365 thing, does he not?
But no, he doesn't do the 365. I think he done it for that last count, but he's not on the 365 now.
He certainly wasn't taking peds for that fight. He was taking fucking sleeping pills. I think do you know what the worst thing is fight is, right? So we've got 3 heavyweight fights, but if you actually mix the names around a bit, you might get some better fights out of it. But if you had Joshua versus Ortiz as your main event, that would be pretty good. You could have Allen versus Molina, no issue really with that, and then Chisora versus White versus Molina, and then Chisora Allen. But instead we've got three heavyweight fights can often be shit. You know, there's so many heavyweight bouts end up being really poor or really drawn out. And I think we're not going to get drawn out fights. I think we're going to get 3 very low quality heavyweight fights on Saturday.
Well, fuck that card anyway. It's shit.
Do you not want to talk about Femi, press pass?
No.
No.
Well, you know, because you'll all just go on a massive ravel. Femi's going back to
you can have a few minutes to say your piece on Femi, and then we'll deconstruct you.
Well, Femi's going to Lagos, isn't he, to fight for $10 million, Eddie Heard said earlier. So I liked in the article they used his full name as if to try and justify why he should go back, why he should fight in Nigeria.
Awula Femi Owulasini.
Yeah, and it's like, well, you can just say Anthony Joshua. Most people are aware of his background. You don't need to give him his full name. I think it's not the fight that I wanted, but it's a better fight than David Price, which is again a very poor argument. But it should not be on pay-per-view. We all know that, but it is. Nothing we can do about that. I'm a big Anthony Joshua fan. I want him to be fighting bigger names than this, but this still represents for me his best opponent so far, which doesn't say an awful lot about how he's been matched. But if put it this way, if he sticks Molina away early, that doesn't mean that he's the best heavyweight in the world, but it does mean that he has more of a right to that kind of claim at sort of the top 3 or 4 heavyweights, certainly than he does now. Simply because a lot of people will make the Wilder comparison. Molina staggered Wilder a little bit, but then got knocked down multiple times and completely outboxed throughout most of that fight. It'll be his best win, and I think Joshua will put him away, and I think he'll put him away early. If he does, I'll be impressed with that. If it drags and we go 8, 9, 10 rounds like we've had, well, the last fight, which I thought he didn't look as sharp, I think he stands a chance of losing some of the casuals who have dived on him a little bit.
Did you just say you'll be impressed if Joshua beats him in a few rounds?
No, I say if he takes him out of there in 1 or 2 rounds, based on Molina's more recent... Everyone's going to bang on about the time when he fought Tits, but I thought that was a good few years ago when he got blown out in a round.
Yeah, but he nearly banged
blown
at himself.
That's what I mean. He almost got Ariola out of there, dived on him, and then Ariola caught him. You know, people see the first round KO and just look at it as, he must have got blown away. Honestly, if people haven't watched it or listening, go back and watch the fight on YouTube. He had him hurt.
Yeah, badly, very badly hurt. It's just one of the things.
In Molina's credit, I do think he'll come and he will at least try and win, which is, again, the minimum we can expect from anyone. I don't think he's literally coming over like a Charles Martin to just die.
No.
He's not an unknown, is he? And that's the good thing. It's not the last guys we've had, Brazil, Charles Martin. We've not really known what to expect from them. Whereas at least with this guy,
what to expect from Brazil. We knew he was fucking shit.
But we've not seen Brazil.
We've seen him fucking rob Fred Cassie, and we've seen him labour against fucking what's his face?
We've not seen him fight someone good.
Amir Mansour.
Yeah, we've not seen him fight someone good. Whereas we've seen this guy fight someone good. The problem is we've seen this guy fight someone good, and he's been knocked out.
Yeah,
so
but we've seen
that tells you all you need to know.
We saw Brazil fight someone shit and look bad, and he still managed to disappoint. So that's like, Jesus.
So anyway, I don't want to talk about this card anymore.
Is there any outcome from that fight that will impress you with Anthony Joshua? What would he have to do on Saturday to make you all go, oh, that was good?
Molina to KO him. I'd say that would go.
There's nothing Joshua can do in that fight that would
exactly
make me
because you shouldn't be
impressed.
fucking fighting somebody like fucking Drummer
No.
headlining a pay-per-view.
If you take the belt away, it's not a bad fight.
Yeah,
when you add in a heavyweight title, it turns into a shit fight because Molina shouldn't be at that level, shouldn't be fighting for a title.
It would be an alright fight, Sam, if this was fucking 5 or 6 fights ago.
No, yeah.
Well, not even 5 or 6 fights because he's only fucking 17 fights in, really, isn't he? But he's got a belt. He's got a belt. He's not ready to hold.
Fucking greatest fucking ever. So don't fucking tell people all that shite and put them in the absolute fucking trash. If you're going to fucking spout the mouth off, fucking back it up and then fair play.
He can fight Billy Joe Saunders in March anyway.
Well, he could have fought him a few weeks back when he was 210 pounds.
Fuck it. Can we move on from AJ? Because I'm getting a stomach ulcer.
Yeah, of course we have. What do you want to talk about? You want to talk about exposing boxing journalism, do you?
Oh, last night. What an embarrassment they are. I don't know. For anyone who didn't see it, basically, we were trying to troll the asylum into coming out with some nonsense, which I don't know if they did. They come out with some unrelated nonsense anyway. So I basically tweeted, what was it now? Like, Let me get the tweet up. This is just fucking ridiculous how this spiraled out.
It was something really generic and basic, like huge news on Kell Brook.
But the thing is, I was saying, crazy news from Kell Brook, didn't see that coming. That's literally all I tweeted, yeah? Then someone asked me, pretty much straight away, goes, it's going to Frank Warren. So I said, no. So then the next fucking minute, every cunt is like I don't understand how it happened. Loads of people going saying, Kell Brook's got an announcement tomorrow. He's fucking rejoining Frank Warren. Like, what? My brother texted me saying, have you seen this? Why is Kell Brook going to Frank Warren? I said, he's not. I said, I fucking tweeted something and some Muppets jumped on it. So the account that seemingly first mentioned Frank Warren is called Knockout Kings, not KO Kings. Boxing KO's Warren, he just chatted some shit. Then fucking Sean Brown and the like have just fucking swallowed it all. Oh, look, we've contacted Kell Brook, he said no. Everyone said no. Like, what the fuck are these maggots doing? Sat in the fucking, sat looking on Twitter for the fucking source of the stories. There's literally nothing to back up what they've been saying. And then Sean Brown saying, moaning about it. It's like, well, why don't you do your fucking... check your sources and do some due diligence, you fucking idiot.
But Ainsley, could you not argue that Sean Brown did his job by asking the question?
Right, why would you ask that question? Right, why would you?
This is so funny.
No, let's picture this. Some idiot with 200 followers has tweeted the most generic thing. Like, it doesn't say anything about Frank Warren. It doesn't say anything about a fight. It could have just been that he's bought a fucking shit new car. That's literally what it could have been. He's bought a Ford Fiesta, right? So why the fuck is he then just all he had to do was click on the tweet and someone's gone, is he going to Frank Warren? I went, obviously not, right? So that would have been the end of it. And then he's going on, and then while this is going on, before he even spoke to him, I would just fucking laughing my head off. So I was just putting all sorts of shit, and he's carried on. Why would you? Why has it got to the point where people now who are trying to fucking say the legitimate writers and whatever are basically looking on Twitter, seeing something that any old idiot's put, and then, that's got to be a story.
It's a world-class rumour when you start it and then someone ends up telling you it. And you know it's fucking nailed it.
The problem is there is an awful lot of misinformation out there, and normally I'd come on and try and defend the boxing writers. However, it was just so funny because if you'd have tweeted, right, because let's be honest, you're not a writer or a Jesuit, but you do the podcast, you're from Sheffield. If you'd have tweeted, I'm hearing rumours Kell Brook set to join Frank Warren, people may have picked up on that, and then I wouldn't have minded the question was asked. It was the fact that your tweet was completely unspecific to absolutely anything, and that suddenly I was watching the feed. And it was people arguing with each other about how plausible that would be. Well, Brook and them are falling out.
Some fucking idiot was asking Paddy Power and Skybet for odds on Kell Brook leaving. It's not as bad as the time.
There's a big thread on Czech Hook Boxing about it. It's about 10 pages deep or something.
It's just honestly, like I said, I'd completely get it if you'd have been very. If I tweeted a story, even though I'm not credible at all, if I'd have tweeted a story about a fighter or whatever it would be, I would expect people to pick up on it and then maybe ask the question. Sean Brown, in his defence, he's got these phone numbers, he's got the contacts. He asked the question because he probably saw it as, there's a chance to get quotes here for a scoop. But not in his defence. There was no story. It was utterly hilarious watching it unfold. And I'm not really that arsed about stuff like that. You guys are far better at it than me. But oh my God, it was hilarious. I was
crazy. The thing is with that is so the one thing I've been told, and I don't know if it's true or not, but I was told that apparently the Spence fight is happening, and that's pretty much sorted. I don't know any other details, but that's it. So I thought I'd just have a little wind up. But then everyone just bites on everything now. So it's got
the wider picture is that without sounding like a boring bellend, it shows you how accessible boxers are. Because if you started that tweet about football, no one would give a shit.
Yeah.
But it shows you how kind of small the community is that you tweet something like that, and then you got Brook denying it.
I've seen some mad shit though. So people saying he's fighting Eubank. Someone said he's rematching Triple G in Kazakhstan. So there's the Frank Warren one.
He's on a yacht in Dubai.
Yeah, there's something about him
Not on a
fighting
yacht.
Canelo, and it's just like all of these rumors are just fucking not. There's people still asking him now, and it's just like for fuck's sake. But like someone saying, Domingo has done it by saying he's going on a new journey. Again, if people actually look at the tweet and click on that tweet, it was someone replied saying, starting a new training camp tomorrow. And then Domingo's basically like, yeah. So again, that just nips it in the bud. Just look at what you're fucking reading.
I just had visions of Carol Brooks sat having his tea and his phone, and then his phone. Oh, what's going on, Babby? Oh, this says I'm leaving to Frank Warren. You know,
Macho, is there anything you want to say from the weekend or
no,
the fights coming up this week?
Not really. I'll just I don't want to start ratting on. I'm sure you've already mentioned all the fights of the weekend.
Cheers
crack on if you want.
Cheers for coming
on. Have you mentioned the Gassio fight?
Yeah.
We did. We did that first, but we can go over it again for you.
Oh no, you don't need to go. I mean, it's the first time I've seen him fight. To be honest with you, I thought he was fairly garbage. He's nails and he can hit really hard, which is good if you're a boxer. But I don't know. I wasn't really impressed. Zero head movement, no defense. I don't know about you guys, but he didn't seem to have much like instinct or much IQ, because every time he seemed to hurt Lebedev, he never followed up on any of his shots. He was really kind of one pace, and I was like you're hurting him every time you throw a shot. But I don't know, he didn't seem to have much killer instinct to me. But this is only the first time I've seen him, so whether he was a bit overawed or because he's only a young lad apparently. But I don't know, I wasn't overly impressed. I thought Lebedev won. I didn't score it, but I thought he won by a couple of rounds. So I was quite surprised he got the nod. But
it was a close fight.
It was a good fight, but it looked.
I know what you mean. It can be basic. I don't know if it'll. He is getting better bit by bit, but obviously he's in pretty deep, weren't he, at the weekend? But he's still like this. So it didn't rot. It was like
when he hurt him.
This is the thing. Is like I think if it might have been 2 years ago, I reckon Lebedev might have stretched that out. But
I just think he's fell in love with his power. Simple as that. There's just just completely fell in love with it and disregarded everything else.
Maybe. He trains with Triple G in that though, so you'd assume that he's going to pick up some stuff from them. But like he
did, unable Sanchez, isn't it?
Like I said, he only had like 20 or 30 amateur fights. He's had 20. He's only had like 50 fights or so, amateur and pro. It's not a lot if you think about it, especially like for Eastern Europeans who a lot of them have had shitloads of amateur fights and whatnot.
Ains, have you got anything else you want to get off your chest, or has anyone got anything they want to talk about?
I'm just going to ask a question to everyone, so everyone will answer it. Who's buying the pay-per-view Saturday?
I'm not.
I'll have to watch it at the pub, otherwise I'll get abused by you. Look.
Lol. You're free to.
I think I'm going to watch, in the spirit of Derek Chisora and Dillian White. I think I'm going to watch Django Unchained instead. Similar sort of thing, isn't it?
Why don't you watch Shrek for Donkey?
Could do. Who's the donkey?
Who's the donkey now? Oh god.
Oh, right, should we wrap this up?
Yeah. Who's that?
Who's that?
Let's pass his new bird.
Is it?
No, it's just it's the old one.
Is it? Oh, total fuck.
Is a schoolboy in there as well?
Ask him if he can swim.
Right, anyway, cheers for coming on again, lads. Next week we'll have loads to review, and we'll probably talk some more bullshit. See if we can shake up boxing Twitter again.
Yeah.
So for your sakes, I hope Carl doesn't win.
Peace.
Yeah, we're going to build up to the fucking annual award show as well.
Can we do that one drunk?
Yeah.
We're going to do.
We'll probably do.
We're going to do two. We're going to do a year in review, and then we're going to preview the next year.
Yeah.
And hopefully we might get Brian on for it. He can do another line and then disappear for 6 months.
That'd be good.
Yeah. So if people tweet anything from the year that they want us to go on about, just let us know. So the Asylum are up for a number of awards, which will be revealed soon.
We're going to do a hot year, which is basically a hot list, but over a year. And we're going to award yearly Dream Boy titles as well. People who've earned a Dream Boy for the year.
Yeah.
We're going to do the Dream Boy Diamond title.
I don't want to do that. That's making it sound dodgy. So it'll just be like the Dream Boy annual awards. We're not gonna. It's not gonna be a specific title because then it looks like we're doing a WBA type thing.
Dream Boy of the Year.
Yeah.
Dave Allen wins tomorrow. On Saturday, he gets my Dream Boy of the Year.
Yeah, we'll do.
Do you know what? Part of me, we're not to whenever finished, but just imagine if you won. Just imagine the fucking banter of Dave Allen and Joshua on pay-per-view in March.
Shep did predict that, in fairness to him.
Well, what hasn't Shep predicted, to be fair? To be fair, in true Shep style, I picked Joseph Parker to lose earlier, so I'm just going to tweet out Parker by KO.
Right, anyway, let's get going.
Bye.
Peace.
Good evening.